All right, thank you everybody for choosing to download, listen, or stream Global from Asia podcasts. It's a pleasure to get a fellow Chiang Mai, Thailand resident. Well, I used to be. I don't know if I'm a resident anymore, but Don Wilder, he's on the show. We've had a lot of encounters in China and in Thailand, and it's been we've been in touch for many years. I remember we actually just did some talks about event organizing. We've both, been in the event space and the crowdfunding, e-commerce in space for many years. And I'm really happy to get you on the show today, talking about the new crowdfunding, the new generation, the new decade. So thanks for coming on, Don.
Thanks for having me on the show, Mike.
Yeah. So you're a product designer, developer, marketer, entrepreneur, and been in, like I said, Shenzhen and Chiang Mai, Thailand for the last 10 years, doing a creative design lab and consulting with supporting tech and fashion startups. So do you want to give a little bit more insights about what you've been doing?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I wouldn't mind at all. So like you mentioned, I've been doing quite a bit of product development over the past decade. And I really got my first start in China, in Guangzhou, where I was staying for almost 7 years. Many of my friends around me had factories doing all sorts of different products. One of my best friends had a factory making plastic injection molds. So this kid and I would train together at the gym. We became friends, and through that, I was able to kind of just explore and see all of the different, sides of manufacturing in what's considered the workshop of the world, right? So yeah, it's when you're over there and you're kind of connected, you get to see a lot of the stuff that's being developed. You could pretty much say upstream from the Western market. Everything's kind of developed there, and then it slowly makes its way over to the West with trade companies or whatnot. So that was really cool. My background early on was in graphic design. So, starting in high school, I was getting into video and graphic design. So I always had kind of an eye for the marketing advertising side. But once being in China, in Guangzhou, and then in early, 2012, some of my friends jumped into the Kickstarter scene, the crowdfunding scene. And that kind of just changed things for me. That kind of opened up a new door, you could say, into the product development space that I'd never really seen before. So that's really where things kind of kicked off.
Yeah, and it leads right into this show. We're calling it crowdfunding, I guess crowdfunding 2020. The URL will be globalfromasia.com/crowdfunding 2020 for everybody listening. And yeah, 2012, even with this podcast, we had shows in 2013, 14, 15 talking about crowdfunding back then with Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Time is flying. You're talking about 2012, 2013. That's 8 years now. So a lot's changed in the space. So, we're looking back. Let's maybe start in the back, the old crowdfunding, how was it when you were doing it then, we had some guests talking about it.
Yeah. So, there's a number of big changes, of course, to Kickstarter, which is the main platform that I've used. But I think crowdfunding in general, and I guess it's always kind of good to make a few distinguishing points about crowdfunding because it's kind of a buzzword. So maybe some of your listeners might not be too familiar with exactly what it is or what we're referring to. So a big thing now online is equity crowdfunding, right? Where you actually put money into a business and in return, you're getting equity of that business. There's another type of crowdfunding that's just charitable crowdfunding, right? So sites like GoFundMe, that's one of the big ones where people might, catch something unfortunate happens to them, and they're asking for some charitable support from the community. And then there's the third type, which is a reward-based crowdfunding, which is where Kickstarter and another big platform called Indiegogo come in. And so that's basically supporting a campaign. In return, you're getting a perk or a reward, right? So it's just basically a platform for startups, especially, that have a creative idea and want to launch something into the market. And through the platform, they're able to generate backing support and pre-sales. You can consider it pre-sales to have the money from the campaigning process to go out and manufacture and send out the rewards to the backers.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess, to answer your question, going back to the early days of, for me, crowdfunding, Kickstarter started up as a platform in 2009, I believe it was. And it was really just for artists, for creative people. I think the first couple things they crowdfunded were art events or music events. And they pulled in some investment. They tried to build out the platform. So by about 2011, end of 2011, 2012, it's, kind of started to become something for things outside of the arts. And the person that kind of brought me into it was a friend out in Guangzhou named Ryan. And Ryan had launched a brand of wooden watches on Kickstarter. You probably know Ryan, right?
Yeah, right. Original Grain, yeah.
Original Grain, yeah, OG watches. And that really, you could say, just opened up the eyes of a lot of us expats in China at the time. Mike Shearhorn being one of the
China Mike,
also in that little American expat community. So basically, Ryan and his brother created some wooden watches, very basic. Not a whole lot of customization went into the watches, but they launched their into 2012, I think it was. And Kickstarter liked their project so much they put it on the front page of Kickstarter, right? And so they just had tons of organic traffic that just flooded into their campaign. And so their 30-day crowdfunding campaign raised, I think it was close to $400,000, right? It just blew up. And it was a very simple homemade style video. And Ryan was talking about, the connection between his time in Hong Kong and his upbringing in the Northwest Seattle area, and kind of fusing it together with this wooden watch. And when I saw that, I'm like, I was pretty blown away. Like, what is this site? You guys are raising money. Like, you haven't even manufactured the product yet. Like, how's this all work? So Ryan explained it to me, and that's what led me to be thinking like, hey man, like I've got an eye for design. I'm in the market. I can kind of do similar approach to what you can do. So that's where I jumped in. So my first project was a fashion belt that had a slider buckle, right? And like I said, kind of being upstream in Asia, in China, there's a lot of different slider buckles already on the market, right? So most of them use like a click system, like a plastic clip on the back of the belt that allowed you to kind of notch and get a closer fit. But the one that I originally found had a brake pad on it, right? And so I saw that and I'm like, hey, this is unique. This is interesting. It's a fashion product, so there's a few cool things. I saw that fashion products did well on Kickstarter, seeing Ryan and a few other campaign creators. So anyway, I jumped in and I'm like, all right, this is a project I want to at least give it a shot. So starting with that basic buckle, I went on to kind of redevelop it and make some improvements on it. The quality of the leather, or it was PU that was in the market, a very cheap synthetic leather, right? Upgraded that. And then within a short time, put together the creatives and launched the first project, Eastwood Slider Belts, with two Chinese friends supporting it. And so similar thing to Ryan, like I didn't have a huge expectation moving into it. This is beginning of 2013. We set our funding goal at 15,000 USD and thinking, we'll see how it does. And we were blown away because I think it was moving into the second day, we had already passed our funding goal, and we were just catching steam, So 30 days later, we raised over 120,000 USD. And I mean, I'm shocked. I'm like, I wasn't even promoting it. And what was crazy is we put a total of $0 into our marketing, right? So that was 100% organic traffic coming from Kickstarter on the platform. And, looking back, I'm thinking like, damn, like what would have happened if I actually would have tried to drive Facebook ads or done some marketing of some sort. But at that point, there wasn't a lot of people using outside traffic, pushing from Facebook or YouTube, whatever, to a crowdfunding campaign. It was just like, that's the site and it's organic traffic and that's how it is. So so anyway, it was a success, and that kind of gave money to develop further projects after that. So with the funding, we used, me and two partners, we used part of that to develop another project, which was a laptop stand. And that was a much more, you could say, original project that wasn't anything quite like it on the market yet. And it was just an idea that I had roaming the markets in Shenzhen, the Huaqiangbei, right?
Huaqiangbei, yeah.
There's the massive electronics market called Huaqiangbei. If you haven't heard of it or seen it, you should look it up. I think on YouTube there's a bunch of cool videos, and it's just
I did a video on it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fantastic. I'll post a link to that in this video, because it's like an amazing place. It really is. It's a great place just to go and get inspired by the different type of products that are getting into the market. Because if you want to really trend spot on what's happening in China, and then potentially what's going to be on the market shelves in the West, it kind of starts in Huaqiangbei, right? So anyway, I saw a product there, a laptop, or it's actually a phone stand that uses like a plate system that folds up and you can set your phone on there. And that's what made me think like, hey, if you can do this for a phone, why don't you just make it a little bit bigger and use a similar, mechanic to put a laptop on there. And so I shared the idea with my two Chinese partners. As I mentioned, this one partner, friend, Daniel, had a steel injection mold factory. So the manufacturing side was a breeze. And then the other partner that we worked with had an industrial design company. So he had like 15 industrial designers on staff. So I kind of had an extra resource, kind of this toolbox right there. So I've got my ideas, like, all right, let's do this and put it together pretty damn quick. So that second campaign launched, after Eastwood Slider Belts got funded. Probably within about 6 weeks, we launched the next campaign, just trying to like really rush into it. And that time I pulled out about $4,000, talking with a friend that did Facebook marketing. He said, hey, you killed it with Eastwood Slider Belts. Let us work with you on your next campaign. So I gave him, if I recall, it was about 4,000 USD, and he drove some Facebook traffic. And so that little laptop stand, we raised 75,000 USD on Kickstarter, and I think it was like a 35-day campaign, if I recall. But the ROI off of the Facebook ads was actually pretty good too. So it's kind of a point thing, like, hey, all right, you could actually drive outside traffic as well to a crowdfunding campaign, and it would convert. Because if for new people going to Kickstarter, signing up, creating an account, there's a number of things they have to do, right? So your conversion rates are going to drop. It's not like going to Amazon. You already have your information, one touch buy. Like most people don't do that with unfamiliar sites. So, but anyway, so that's going way back to answer your question. The early days of crowdfunding.
Yeah, man, that's some cool stuff, man. Thanks for filling us in. Like we said, we've done we haven't done crowdfunding talk on this show for years. But I did want to kind of use the angle of, the PL, the Amazon sellers. I think, we've kind of gotten more into the, a lot of these people making their own brands, but they're not doing the most, groundbreaking product. They're usually slightly altering a product. We did a case study live, we did the coffee pots, which was kind of like private label, right? So a lot of them, I know, even me, we just launched directly on Amazon. We do our Amazon research. We look at a product, we look at the reviews, the search volume, and then we read the negative reviews. We make some slight alterations. Like that's what I did with the coffee pot. We fixed the handle for heat resistance. We fixed the leaking gasket we read on other negative reviews. We fixed a couple other things, and then we just put it out there. Made some nice branding. Got brand registry as soon as we could for the the other perks of that. But I haven't talked to many people that have done like Kickstarter to. Well, actually, that's another question. Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Maybe we can quickly talk about that. But, I do want to kind of talk today about the PL sellers to go into crowdfunding. Is that something you're hearing about often now? Is that changed over the years? Are people
Yeah,
going back and forth between these two worlds of crowdfunding,
yeah,
reward crowdfunding and Amazon
right.
or e-commerce?
So yeah, man, there's plenty there to unpack. Like I know
I know it's a lot.
many of my friends that have never done crowdfunding. Like I'm more in the space where I've done a lot on crowdfunding and less on Amazon, right? Like I'm getting into Amazon more in the past year. But my friends that jumped into Amazon early, they've done really well, right? Leveraging their success from crowdfunding and going over. And if you evaluate the process, it's a wonderful, you could say like a 1-2 punch, right? Between getting that early momentum from crowdfunding to launch an original product that goes to Amazon, and from Amazon you're able to have a much more competitive barrier from the competition, right? Because the problem with private labeling, if you talk to the guys that are selling on Amazon or they're interested in selling, they kind of all run up into the same thing, that they end up selling the same product with slight variations. So the competition is extreme, right? And for many people, I mean, they're even directly competing with the manufacturer or other larger Chinese trade companies that are willing to lose money, right? As long as they can beat out all the competition, and they'll do it for a long period of time. So it's ruthless, right? And Amazon as a platform, they're not going to take concern to, who's like doing what or whatever. So I know there's a lot of black hat in there as well that makes it tough. But when you launch a product that's original, of course you can file for patents, you can file for trademarks to have a registered brand on Amazon, which gives you even more space to breathe. And I mean, even for catching eyeballs, like when you hop on Amazon and you've got 20 products that look the same and you've got one that's unique, I think that's going to give its own way of improving the conversion. But yeah, so I think the process definitely is great. I mean, if you were to kind of step back and evaluating what crowdfunding can offer an Amazon private labeler, I think that it offers tons of value, right?
Yeah.
Because, launching a new product on Amazon, like what you did was smart. Of course, I think everyone's kind of following that process of doing some heavy or deep market research prior to the launch, but you still have to invest in all that stock, right? I mean, you still have to kind of pull the trigger and just put down your opening order of however many units for the MOQs, and then ship it, get it checked in, run a promotional launch and giveaways, and it costs a lot, right? So if you look at crowdfunding, what's required to crowdfund the product, I mean, you're looking at a lot less cost up front, depending on your approach and your fundraising goals. But I mean, you're looking at developing a prototype, right? Like you could say a high fidelity prototype, which looks very real to like the end product. So it's got to look real. It's got to be functional for your marketing videos and such. But that process, I mean, that's going to cost substantially less than just dropping an opening order at a factory for crowdfunding also can mitigate a lot of risk, because when you're crowdfunding, you're not only getting pre-sales, assuming that people are backing your campaign, but you're also able to validate that market demand as well, right? And you can even get early feedback from your ideal customers, whether they're your early adopters, so they are kind of unique in some ways. But I mean, during the crowdfunding campaign process, I've done this as I'm like launching out the product, saying, "Hey guys, quick survey, of the hundreds of backers or 1,000 of backers that's supporting," being like, "What do you think of this color? Like, we could go with this color option, or we could go with that color option. We could do this feature or that feature." For the product that we ship out, which one would you rather have, right? And overnight, getting hundreds of responses being like, "Oh, we totally love the black over the blue. Like, you should definitely do the black," right? And so, as a product creator, no longer am I making guesses about what the end customer probably wants, but I'm using that data as well and that feedback. And Kickstarter has a pretty cool community of backers. these are not, the back, you could say kind of the typical backer type. They are fairly educated, right? So mid to upper level income, and so you're getting guys on there that some of them are engineers, some of them have experience in product development, some have, so you get a wide range of feedback off of even just surveying backers, which is cool. I feel like a lot of campaign creators don't leverage that, but for people that are looking at moving the product into the market, that early, of course, market validation and that early feedback can do huge things, because like once you get your product manufactured and get it over to Amazon or wherever you're going to sell it, I mean, you can't really change much, right? So being able to make note on areas that you can make improvements on early on is really, really fantastic.
I do agree, but I have to think about the people. I mean, I think these sellers, and sellers are different. I still think you're more like an inventor. There's I don't know. Would you say, some people might say, I'm not an inventor. I can't think, I can't think of an original product. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of extra time. I'm just being devil's advocate here, but I just know some people are listening. They're just like, they know those benefits, but they're like, oh, I got to think of something really unique. I got to think of something new. I mean, I don't want to be like kind of a hacker here, but is there any hacks or how new or unique does it have to be to really crowdfund it?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I'll be honest, like there's sometimes I hop on the platform and I'm surprised. I'm like, really? Like this project can make that much, right? So there really is a balance between unique innovation that happens, like some crazy invention or some crazy new idea, crazy like application that hasn't been seen before, and then just good marketing. Like for instance, right now on Kickstarter, there's a campaign. I can drop you the link a little later. It's like the kiddie bowl, right? And it's a cat water dish. It looked pretty plain to me, but I mean, I think it's only been a week or a little over a week, and they've raised over $250,000, like over $250,000 for a cat water dish, right? I mean, I look at it, I'm not like seeing any massive innovation around it. It's a nice design, right? The marketing sales page on the campaign page, they've done a really good job walking people through, having the cat's perspective on the water dish, right? But it's stuff like that I'm like, wow, like the platform doesn't necessarily stop people that are doing a product like this from seeing some substantial success. But with that, again, this company is using an outside agency to drive traffic from Facebook, right? And the backer audience on Kickstarter now, like Kickstarter has, I think it's 15 million some backers that have backed projects before. So it's a very, very large backer base you can target on Facebook. So they're probably driving very relevant, focused traffic to get people to convert on their campaign.
Yeah.
But I guess the point being, you don't have to invent some crazy gadget or widget in order to have a successful campaign. You don't, man. Okay. Like if you can spot a product on Amazon, you say, oh, this has some market opportunity. Where is the competition slacking, right? And then also having kind of a one-up on the design, right? I think there's going to be some overlap as you move over to crowdfunding space, because crowdfunding, like you've got, at least for hardware, you've got design, right? You've got tech, and you've got some fashion. So there's a wide array of types of projects that you can get onto the platform. But yeah, I mean, to kind of pull that back in a nutshell, I'd say there's part of it that you do want to research and see what types of products do well on crowdfunding. But like with that, it doesn't have to be some wild innovation that's happening, right? It just needs to be a nice design. I think even like just lifestyle products can do well on Kickstarter. So yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a story that I think kind of funny.
Sure. That's good.
Happened to me a couple times as I was a consultant, a crowdfunding consultant in China for Chinese startups, and some of them weren't startups; they were big companies. But so a company comes to me. This is what 2015, 2016. A Chinese company, and they make backpacks, right? And they say, "Hey, like we've heard about this thing Kickstarter, and we really want to crowdfund our new backpack. Can you help us?" And so my role then was pretty much to evaluate the product. Does it have potential for Kickstarter, for crowdfunding? If so, I help them set up their creatives and put it, and do the full management of the campaign and such. But I looked at their product and I'm like, this backpack looks awfully familiar, right? But I couldn't remember where I'd seen it from. So I get their catalog, I look at the stuff, and then a couple of days later, I realized where I'd seen the backpack. It was a copycat bag of the Bobby bag that went on to Kickstarter and raised, the Bobby bag at the time was the biggest backpack project. I think it was a couple $1 million, right? Wow. Substantial amount of money that the Bobby bag raised. And when I saw that, I'm looking at their bag, I'm looking at the Bobby bag, I'm like, it's the same damn bag, right? So we have a meeting, and I'm like, why are you guys copying the Bobby bag? Like, this is the exact same bag. And they're like, no. Like, the Bobby bag is basically, our client. We're manufacturing for them, but we decided to make our own style of the bag. And you see the zipper, the Bobby bag zipper, one zipper's down here, but our zipper's up here, And I'm thinking, like, dang. I mean, I'm not going to touch this project, right? Because I can only imagine. I launched this on Kickstarter. I helped them, and there's going to be a whole entourage of backers being like, "You copied the Bobby bag, right?"
Yeah.
So I tell them no. I said I don't want to work on this campaign with you. But they were, they had a budget to create some nice creatives and stuff, and I'm like, still, like, I'm not interested. But two of my Chinese friends that were, you could say, kind of hustlers that were always looking for projects, right? They heard about it and they contacted the factory, took the project, right? So they set up the bag project, and a couple months later they launched it. And dude, it blew my mind. Like, this bag that they showed me, they didn't even make any additional changes after I talked to them or anything. They launched the bag. And they raised over $1 million with this copycat Bobby bag, right? And again, it was good marketing, well laid out page, and looking back and realizing
the price.
Well, yeah, that's one area that even for creators, as I've seen it happen a few different times through crowdfunding. I mean, if the Chinese, especially, are they're innovators, and then not just the Chinese, I think globally. Kickstarter is a global platform, so you're going to get eyeballs from all around the world. That if a project's successful, it gets scattered across the internet. But definitely being savvy about how you go about your patents. Even filing a provisional patent.
Yeah, exactly.
Is very important if your market's in the States, and even filing a patent in China. There's companies that you can work with to file a patent in China, and they're also very cheap. Yeah. So if you have a cool product and cool design, it's better that you attempt your best effort to file a patent. But I guess that I mentioned that scenario just because it also showcases something about Kickstarter as a platform, because they did not only have a successful raise, but they went over $1 million, which is a very, very hard thing to do. So it indicates that there was really a strong demand on Kickstarter for this type of a product, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So many different backpack projects that have gone on there.
Yeah, I've seen I know people have done bags, a few people have done bags, yeah.
Yeah.
So all right. Yeah, I mean, this has been a fascinating discussion. I think my last hesitation that I think listeners are thinking about is the amount of time it takes to prepare the campaign. Even we, like when we launched that coffee pot in Sisitano brand, we didn't do Kickstarter crowdfunding because we just felt like it was going to be a lot of time. We were like anxious to just sell. We want to get into we're trying to get to fourth quarter. So what's the normal time frame someone should think about from like idea to selling on it to doing it?
Yeah, good question. Now, yeah, again, the time frame can really depend based off of your goals for the funding, right? Like how
Yeah.
much you're trying to raise. The more that you're trying to raise, the more effort you need to prepare. It's almost like building a building. If you're going to build a house, you should probably go down 10 feet to put in the foundation. Or put up a skyscraper, right? You're going to go way down. So it takes more time. And by going down, I mean like just preparation and what's big in crowdfunding now is a pre-launch process. So instead of going day one to the platform and launching your campaign, when you run a pre-launch, you're basically doing you're building out an email list before you even get to Kickstarter, right? So you're doing your buzz, campaign buzz, and building out awareness and building out an email list. So when you launch on crowdfunding, your Kickstarter, Indiegogo, day one, you hit your funding goal, whatever it is. Within the first 24 to 40 hours, you want to try to hit your funding goal. And that's going to give you some major momentum to push through the rest of the campaign, right? So that pre-launch process, I think most companies, startups that try to raise a bigger figure, maybe six figures on crowdfunding, they'll spend 5-6 weeks just doing the pre-launch process, just list building. So if you're looking for a smaller raise, maybe 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, you wouldn't even need that long. Maybe a couple of weeks before you launch, you can kind of do the process. Yeah.
Cool. And I think. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, more. Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess like I only answered about half the question off that, but how long you need to prepare? Again, I mean, if you're familiar with setting up your creatives, your video, your copy, your graphics, then the process can move quite quickly. If you're not, and you're trying to collaborate with other companies or freelancers that are doing that, you should also kind of budget in some extra time for that process. So it could be with the creatives, it could be as short as 2 weeks if you're fast. If it's long, it could be 4 weeks.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then of course the campaign's like a month.
The campaign, yeah. I mean, most campaigns are about 30 days.
Yeah.
On the Indiegogo and Kickstarter, you can go up to 2 months, so 60 days. So I mean, on average, not many campaigns need to go over 30 days unless you're really trying to push hard on raising more.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the longer campaigns, from what I've seen, it's more of an approach to push harder on the traditional PR. Like when you're trying to connect with a reporter or with a journalist or a blog, that process of outreach can take a lot longer. So the longer the campaign, the more time you have to go back and forth. But as far as like Facebook marketing goes, 30 days, man. I mean, you can raise over $1 million easily.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think the big opportunity, and I've been thinking about it, I wish maybe I have to find some of these people, but I think somebody's already successful on Amazon with maybe a more generic product that has a brand could then take a more unique or tweaked product and then launch that on Amazon under the same brand. I think that would propel their other products. And then they also have hopefully they've been building an email list. I know Amazon, you don't get the emails, but hopefully on their website, you already have an email list. You already have traction on Amazon. I think that's I don't know. I mean, that's what I think for launching a product now. I mean, and then you're boosting your other products, boosting your brand. I think that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm hoping people could get from today. You don't have to just start some new invention and a new brand. You could take an existing brand and product line and explode with a new product inside that brand.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it can definitely go both ways. The thing is, if you are already an established brand on Amazon, it's nice because you've got some trust factor there, right? So if you do launch a new product, it goes to crowdfunding. You can even show your company face, which, a lot of backers now are more hesitant to support projects because they've been burned. Like many creators, they either, for ethical reasons, they don't ship, or I think mostly it's just problems manufacturing and shipping. That's like the real heavy part of the campaign, right? And so I think I've heard something like 1 in 10 campaigns don't actually ship out rewards. So that's a pretty high percentage.
Yeah, it's happened to me, man. I bought stuff and I haven't gotten it.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone that backs crowdfunding campaigns often, I mean, they get burnt from different creators, and it's always very unexpected. But that said, if you're already an established Amazon, so that does help give you some clout, you could say. But also, I mean, when you do crowdfund, you finish your campaign and you're driving most of this traffic over to your Amazon page where people are seeing your other products, and if they like your crowdfunded product, there's a good chance that they're also going to feed into your full product line potentially.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I hope people are getting that, motivation, because I know we have some great listeners that maybe already are selling, already experienced. A lot of people I know are more, more savvy. So I hope they can get some inspiration from that. And yeah, I think now, I mean, this has been amazing. It's gone a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I mean, you're giving amazing value, and you're also, maybe we can share about the master class. You put together something for us for like an encore, even more amazing stuff. You want to share what you got for us?
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of anticipated, a podcast can only go for so long, but I really did want to kind of dig down and offer a lot of value for people that are selling on Amazon or interested in selling on Amazon, and figuring out how the connection with crowdfunding works. So I put together a master class that I'm offering your members to check out for free. And in that master class, I'm just going to go in depth as far as the advantages of leveraging crowdfunding to launch products on Amazon. And there's really a beautiful synergy between the two sides, right? Because I mean, Amazon, it's just this monster e-commerce site that's taking over 50 cents of every dollar spent online, right? And then you've got this crowdfunding little platform on the other side that is just perfect for mitigating risk and getting new products into the market, without investing substantial amounts of money that a traditional product launch would take. So if you can use the two well, you can really see some awesome success. And in that masterclass, I'll also go into some of the different companies that have done just that, and kind of give it a breakdown of what they raised on crowdfunding, and then going to Amazon, and what their monthly and annual sales look like after.
Awesome. That's really great, man. And then also you're doing a full-blown program. You're coming out with a course and everything. So that'll also be, we can link to that also in the show notes. And
yeah, you bet. So just a little tidbit about the course too. So Launch Funded is just something I put together. I've had so many friends that be like, man, you really should do a course. You should put together some sort of information to teach people what you've learned, in the past 8 years with crowdfunding and product development. And I really didn't take it very seriously until COVID came. And I'm like, dang, man, I mean, I can do more projects. I've already got a lot of projects going on, just different stuff I'm developing. But I'm like, yeah, but this would be kind of cool. I realize with the downturn in the economy as well, there's going to be a lot of people that want to try to escape that traditional 9-to-5 and the job security that's no longer that secure, and look for a way to make income online or through e-commerce. Mm-hmm. And so so I put together a free course actually as well. You can put the link, and then
okay.
And then I'm doing an accelerator course, which is a full course that goes very in depth about A to Z on crowdfunding, everything you're going to want to need to know to really kick ass, right?
Okay.
And I'm also going to be opening up my network and my resources through that, so people that need help in different areas will get it. And Facebook group where you can get coaching from me and some other successful creators within the group, and awesome. Just have that community and accountability. So yeah, I'm quite excited about it.
Yeah, man. It's exciting. So yeah, we got a lot of value. And then also there's so much, we've been talking about a couple of small investment. You got so many projects going on. You got a couple of them. We can't share them too publicly. It's something we're experimenting with, but we'll also list a couple of your investment opportunities for some of the new products you're launching for the GFA VIP community. So it's really awesome, man. I really appreciate you sharing so much. And there's so much more that you have for listeners. So thanks again, Don. And so that's we'll link it in the show notes. So the show notes will be at globalfromasia.com. crowdfunding 2020. And then we'll have all these links, show notes, and everything there, video and audio files of this episode and more. So thanks again, Don, for sharing. It's awesome, man. It's an intense session.
All right. My pleasure, Michael. Thanks for having me on the show.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and also check out our Instagram at Global from Asia. Thanks again, and see you soon.
E-commerce, like over 8 years.